Hello everyone. Now in this lecture we are going to talk about our next topic, that is file handling. In Hope you have seen all the previous videos, and I have also attached the link in the description box for my whole playlist. Now in this lecture we would be going to talk about file handling, and after this lecture all our Python topics would be covered. But still, in the next lecture, I would be covering a practice set, which I would be performing on the platform Geeks for Geeks, in which I would be solving some Python problems on every topic. So do see that video as well. And I would also attach the link of the playlist in the description box of this video. Now we are going to talk about our next topic, that is our file handling. So if I talk about files, now what are files? Files is where we store our data. Suppose I have a lot of data, so I would be storing it in a file. Now, if we store our data in RAM, we know when we switch off our PC or laptop, so the you can say our data is temporarily stored in RAM, and when we turn on turn on our system, the data that we have stored in RAM is not available because RAM stores temporarily our data. But if we store our data in files, it is stored permanent until and unless we delete it. So there is a benefit of storing our data in file because it lasts long. So there are now two aspects of file. Uh, First is file name and file path. Now, suppose like in this case, I have named my file name as 7th. And when we talk about file name, there are sub two topics that are file name, that is our 7th, and extension. After dot, we use extension. Like in this case, we have used extension py, which suggests that it is a Python file. So, uh, both things are compulsory when we are naming a file, the name and our extension. Now, what does extension tell us? Extension tell us what kind of data is present in the file. Now, .py suggests that Python code is written in our file. Now, if I write .c, it suggests that it is a C code, and if I write .cpp, it suggests that it is a C++ code. So it tells what kind of data is present in our file. So this was our file name. Now what is file path? File path is where in the system where actually our data is stored. Now if I run this program, since I haven't written anything, so you can see in our terminal we can see our Python file is present in desktop, then in OneDrive, then in Pranav, then in users. So it gives us a complete path of where our file is stored. So we in our daily life we have a lot of data to deal with, so we store it in files. For now, if we want to find a lot of files, so it would be difficult to search by name. So we can go to that path where our file is stored. So it becomes easy to search for our data. So this is why we use files. Similar in Python, we are going to use our files. Now we have talked about files now and what is the usage of files. Now, since suppose we have a file, like I have a 7.py file. Now I would be performing some operations on the file. For example, if we have any file, we first open it, then perform some operation on it, like read. We want to read some data that is written in the file. We can read. We can write some more data into the file, and we can perform XYZ operations on a file. And after that, we can simply close that file. So same operations we are going to perform in Python as well. Now for suppose I have already made a file, that is file name.txt. Let me suppose I write some. Now there are two types of files. First is our text files, in which our textual data is written, and other is our binary file in which we store our like movie name, uh, videos, like that. And you have must have seen when you download a movie from internet dot movie dot mp4, and when we download an image we have written dot png extension. So this suggests that it is a binary file. Now we are taking the example of a text file, so we are using dot txt. Now suppose I write anything in my txt file like hello python, welcome to the Python playlist. Suppose I write this. Now, if I want to read my file, which is filename.txt, so first I will store it in a variable. Like suppose I write it name. Now, first I would open my file, so I would use my keyword open. Now, in the parenthesis, I would be writing two things. On the first position or parameter, I would be writing my file name, that is filename.txt. And on the other second parameter, we would be writing the mode in which we want to open the file. Suppose one user wants to open the file for reading purposes only, and someone wants to open the file for writing something in the file. So now suppose we are taking example of reading the file only right now. So we will write R, which suggests we are reading the file right now. So after that, if we want to read the content in the file, so I would simply make another variable content. And I want to read the file, so I would write my file name file dot means in which my file is stored. So my file is stored in file variable. So I will write file dot read. So it would read my file, and after that I will print my content so I can read it. Now after that, I will close my file. Why is it important to close a file? Because if we don't close our file, any hacker or organization can hack our file, and they can misuse our data. So it would be causing a lot of harm to the users whose data is being mistreated. So it is very important to close our file. So I would simply write file.close, which closes our file. Now if I try to run my program, you can see I am getting hello world, I am learning Python. So that's same thing. Okay, so I haven't saved this code. That's why it is not giving Python playlist. Now if I print, you can see hello Python, welcome to the Python playlist. So it is printing my code which is written in our file name.txt. So as you can see that our you can say our we can read our file in the terminal. So this was how to read the file. Now we can perform various operations on file. For example, if I take it file operations, I am making a new, you can say new top I'm giving a name to the topic. So there are many file operation like we have seen read only. For that we use R. Now we can for you can say R is used for reading purposes only. It reads the content of the file. Now suppose we are opening our file for writing purposes. So for that we use W. It writes contents in our file. Contents in our file. So this was the use of W. It writes something in our file. So now there is another method, that is append. Now what does append do? Append adds some data at the end of the file. Now suppose there is no file which is existing, so it would automatically make a new file. It appends data at the end of the file. So this was the case of append. Now the other method would be our R plus. Now what R plus do is it reads the data from the file as well as it writes data. It is used for both the purposes, for reading as well as writing the data. Now our next method would be A plus. Now what A plus do is it appends data at the end of the list, end of the file. What other thing it do is it reads also. Now it perform two operations. So these are some file operations which you or file modes you can say, or modes in file which are used to open the file. Now these are for text purposes only. We in Python we generally consider text purposes. So these are for text purposes. Now there are some more operations which we can perform in our file. For example, I have told you about the dot read method. Now what it do is it reads content of the file. Now what other file methods are? Let's suppose I want to move to a specific I want to see at which position my cursor is now still uh, uh, right now at which position my cursor is. So I would simply be using file dot, first I would write my name of the file, that is for example I am taking file dot tell. It tells at which position my cursor is. It tells the current position of the cursor on the file. Now another method is file.seek. Now in this we would first write our file name. Let's suppose I am taking it file. Dot seek method tells uh, basically file dot seek method returns the position at which you want to place the cursor. Suppose I want to place my cursor at 12th line. So in file.seek I would write simply 12. So it would place the cursor at the 12th line in my file. So it moves to the specific place. So file.seek is basically used to move our cursor to a particular place, and we can simply write print in front of it and it would be printed. Another method is file.write. Now what file.write is, it write contents in a file. So file.write is used for writing contents in a file. Now we have another method, that is file.close. What it does is it closes our file. Now when we are going to perform some questions in our next lecture, I would be using all these methods in that question. Right now I am not having questions, so I when we will be practicing questions tomorrow, or you can say in the next lecture, I would be telling each and every method while performing the questions, it would make you much more clear and give more clarity to your mind. So these were some methods you have to keep in mind when we will be performing some questions on the platform Geek for Geeks. I would be using these methods, so you have to keep in mind. Now, another topic is exception. Now, in our daily life, we use exception. Like for example, if this thing can't happen, so this can happen. We use it as an exception. Except this. So, uh, in also your previous classes in chemistry, you have must heard of the word exception, which is used for a case that suddenly happened, you can say. So in Python, we also have exception. Now where we use exception in our try except block. Try except block. Now what are try except block? They perform the similarly like our if else. Now how did they perform? Suppose I write try in which I want the division of two numbers. Let's take I'm taking two numbers as input. Now I want their division, so I am storing it in a result variable. Now, uh, take try except as a if else method. You can suppose try as if and accept as else. Now, I have simply printed the division of two numbers. Now, there can be exception in this. What type of exception? Suppose the num2 uh, can be 0. So, if our num2 becomes 0, it would give an error as you have seen in maths. So, it is an exception that user enters num2 as 0. It would come as an exception. For that we use except block which handles our exceptions and errors gracefully. So I write my except keyword. Then after that I would be using our exception which is zero division error. So that zero a person if a person or user enters 0 as num2, it gives 0 division error, and VS Code is suggesting too that second argument to a division or modulo operation was 0, that our second argument, that is num2, was 0, so it would give 0 division error. So I can write print 0 division error occurred. So in this way, our try except block occurs. There, if we are using try, there is compulsory to use except block as well. Now if I try to print, as they are asking for a num1. Now if I suppose enter 6 and in num2 I enter 7. Now they are printing the result. And one more thing, if our try blocks is executed successfully, there is no error or any exception, the except block will not be considered, and after the try block the result of the try block is printed, the cursor moves out of the program. Now suppose let's take another example. Suppose I enter num1 5 and num2 0. So you know if we divide anything by 0 it gives an error, for which we have used our except block which would handle our errors. So it would simply write a 0 division error occurred. Now you can see that it is giving us a 0 error division occurred. So this was our case of 0 division error. Now let me use a new terminal. Now if I write, wait a second. Now if I try to print my num1 as 5 and num2 as 0, it is answering 0 division error occurred. So because our num2 was 0. Now there is one more type of error which I would be talking is our accept value error, as VS Code is suggesting to. So what happens in our value error? So a user enters not an integer value. It enters something like a variable like a, b, c, d, x, y, z. He or she enters this value. So we know it is not an integer. So it would be our value error. If user enters anything other than our integer, so it would print zero value error occurred. So now if I try to print, our normal program would run like this. Now suppose if I write num1 as 5 and num2 as a. Now you know num2 which I have entered is not an integer. I have not entered an integer. I am entering a variable. So it would give me an error. Why? Because the user is simply asking for our integer type value in the try block. But I have entered a value error. So it would result value error occurred. As you can see, value error occurred. So this was the case of try except block. Means if anything that doesn't run in our try block, it would be handled by our except block. And except block are generally made to handle exceptions of all kinds. Like we have seen only two kinds, but there are a lot of exceptions. Moving forward, we will see how we can raise our own exceptions as well. So for now, we have seen this. Now if I wait a second, now our next topic would be types of errors. Now we would be seeing type of errors. Now there are three types of error. First is our syntax error. Now what happened in syntax error? Syntax error means basically you have done something wrong in syntax. Suppose we have to define function. You forgot to write def keyword, and suppose after writing if condition you forgot semicolon. So these kind of error are called syntax errors. Means you are breaking Python rules. So the next type of error is our logical error. Now what happened in logical error? Suppose we know we if we want to print whether a number is odd or even, we know we have to modulus by 2. So to find it that it is a even or a odd number. But uh, we have uh, modulus our number by 5, which is a logical error. So these are logical errors, or you can say we have given wrong indentation. So this can also be a logical error. So these are some of the logical errors. Now the third error is runtime error. Now what are our runtime error? Our code is successfully executed, but at the time of running, our code is successfully compiled as well. But at the time of running, it is giving error. That is called runtime errors. It can be due to internet connection as well. So these are runtime errors. Now another important concept is our try, except, finally block. Now what is this? It is similar to try except block, but we have add one more thing, that is our finally. Now take the same example when we try to divide two numbers. So take a number, like I take a number A as input and suppose I take a number B as input as well. Now I want their division. Now here also we will write our zero division error which can occur uh, right now like we have seen it. So we can also take one more exception, that is our value error. Like this. So we have seen this uh, in our above case. So now we would add another term, that is finally. For that we would use our finally keyword. In this we can print anything like our code is successfully run. Code ran successfully. Now what does this finally do? Suppose if our try block is executed successfully, and so we know that we will not be going to our except block, but after if we have written finally block and if our try block is executed successfully, so it would still print anything that is written in our finally code. So let's suppose I take two numbers as input. Now there is no error. So if our try code is run successfully, as you can see, one is our output. Still, it would print the code that is written in our finally uh, statement. Now suppose our try block is wrong. Let's suppose I have given A as 5 and B as 0. You know 0 division error occurred. So in this case also, if our try block is wrong and we are using as exception, still our finally code would be printed. As you can see, first, sorry, it is giving wrong value. Let me change my terminal. Now if I print it, suppose I give A as 5 and B as 0. Now it would give 0 division error occurred. Now after that, it is giving 0 division error occurred. Finally, block is still printed. As you can see, code ran successfully is printed. So, means anything. If our try block is true or not, or our except block is used or not, finally block would still print. So, this is means it can be used sometimes when at the end of program you want to print something like our code ran successfully or it is the end of program, anything if we want to print we can use it in a finally block. It would print it anyways if our try block is true or not. So this was our try except block, try except finally block. Now we can raise our own exception as well. Now we would see that raising on our own exception. Now what do you mean by raising your own exception? Mean like we have been saying these exceptions are basically you can say already inbuilt in Python like zero division error or value error. Now we can raise our own exception as well. Suppose there we are writing a function which is checking age. So I write my function name check age, in which I would be giving our parameter age. Now, if I write age is less than 0, so we know it doesn't exist. So in our if block, I would raise an exception. For that, I would use my keyword raise, and after that exception, that is value error. So I would write value error, and it would print age should be greater than equal to 0. So it would print this. Now what we have done is, first we have defined a function which checks age. Now if our age is less than 0, it would give me a value error that age should be greater than or equal to 0. Otherwise it would print our age as it is. Now I would write a try block in which I am taking age as input. Now, in this, I would first take age as input and check and call my age function for age. Now, we would be using our accept block for any error. I can say accept valued error. Now, for uh, if there is value error, it would print value error occurred. So what we have done is, first we have defined our age function, which checks a user's age. And if our age is negative, we know age, if age is negative, it doesn't, you can say, it doesn't is defined, because age can't be negative. So we are raising our own error. That is our, we are using raise as our keyword, after that value error, because it is a value error, and we are writing age should be greater than or equal to 0. As if our age is not negative, it should be printing our age. Now in the try block, we are taking age as input. So, the most important thing, we should be using here our int keyword, which is our you can say, which is our data type. So because string and an integer cannot be compared, so Python by default takes string as input. So we have to write int value here. So in the try block, we are taking age input, and then we are calling our age check age function. I have already told you how to call the function. So we are calling our function. You can see function def check age. So now if this doesn't run, we would have an accept block which would say value error, and value error occurred. Now if I try to print, if I write my age 16, we know age is greater than 0. Now if I print it, it is printing my age, which is 16. Now if I enter a negative age, why, first of all, why is given 16? Because first it comes in the function with while taking the value 16. Now you know 16 is not less than 0. So it would skip this value error and print my age. Now, okay, sorry. First, we are taking age as input. So let's suppose 16 we have taken. So now it would check in our function that if age is less than 0, no. So it would print my age. As you can see, 16 is printed. If there would be an error, it would give print value error occurred. Suppose now if I give a negative value. So it is saying value error occurred. Why? Because there is value error occurred because our age is less than 0. Now, we can also print double age. Suppose I copy the same function Okay, let me copy paste it. I can perform one more operation on this. I can, if our age is not negative, I want to print double of my age. So I would simply write here our else block, and in which I would be writing age into 2. So what does it do? It would print, if our age is not negative this time, it would print the double of my age that I have entered. Now if I suppose enter 16, it would return 32. But if I enter in minus, which we all know is negative, so it would give value error occurred. So this was the case of our, you can say, raising our own exception. Now we would be doing one or two more questions of our topic try except block. Now if I try to do three more questions of try except block, I can be doing it for anything like for we have to find odd and even number. So I would write my try and take two numbers as input. And there is another number. Suppose I am taking two numbers as input. So for if we have to find a number is odd or even, so I can simply do it with one. So if our number is, we can use num1 modulo 2 is equal to 0. It would print even. Now else it would print odd. Now we can use an except block. We can say value error occurred. Value error occurred. So we can use our try except block for odd and even numbers. Now 6 we all know is even, so it is printing even. Now suppose if I entered a not an integer number, so it will give me value error occurred. So this was the case of our try except block. So now we have seen each and every topic that is in files, but we have done some less questions on how we can uh, reach to a particular position in the file, how we can write our content in the file. So you don't have to worry for it. In the next lecture, in which I would be covering some questions of geeks for geeks, uh, I would be covering questions of each and every topic. I would also cover the questions of files, so you don't have to worry. But just remember all the methods that we have used in this file methods, uh, s- uh, s- which we are gonna perform in the practice set. And if you don't remember it, it would be difficult for me as well as you to uh, basically understand what we are doing in the questions. So it was our last video where we where we explain all the concepts. But there is still one video to come, which would be our practice set problems, in which I would be covering problems of geeks of for geeks platform. So do see that video, and it was nice meeting you. This was a very lovely, you can say, lovely response from your side. I got a lot of positive message. A lot of means everyone was saying positive in the comment section that you found the video helpful. and it's my pleasure that you find the video helpful. Hope this playlist have helped you a lot, and I would be attaching the link of the playlist at the in the description box. So do see all the videos. In each and every video, I have covered a great amount of questions. So do check it out. And if you have any doubt, I am once again saying please ask in the comment section. I would be reaching to you in the comment section and responding to each and every one of you. So thanks for your support, and please see the last video in which we are going to solve our files questions as well as every topic that we have covered till now. So thank you for now.